Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard has called for a leadership vote in her ruling Labour Party on Monday to try to settle once and for all a long simmering rivalry with her predecessor as Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd. That rivalry went to a full boil earlier this week after speculation began growing that Rudd was about to challenge her for leadership of the party and the prime ministership. It's a case of deja vu all over again. Nearly 2 years ago, Rudd was prime minister when Gillard led a successful challenge and ousted him from office. At the time, Rudd's approval ratings had plummeted after a series of unpopular policy decisions and backflips. Labour's rank and file were worried that the party would lose power in elections the following year. The two have had an uneasy working relationship ever since. But now the shoe is on the other foot. Gillard's approval ratings have dropped to some of the lowest in her party's history in recent weeks after a series of policy backflips and broken campaign promises of her own, while Rudd has remained popular with the general public. The gloves have come off in this very bitter and long-running power struggle. Prime Minister Julia Gillard has sharply criticized Kevin Rudd, calling him a destabilizing force in Australian politics and calling his time as Prime Minister a failure. And those are some of the more restrained things Gillard and her supporters have had to say about Rudd over the past few days. For his part, Kevin Rudd has made his case to supporters and undecided members of Parliament and to the Australian public in several press conferences that he's the best hope for the Labour Party to hold on to power in a general election that's due to be called sometime next year. But in the end, this isn't a decision for the Australian public. It all comes down to just 103 members of the Labour Party in Parliament and how they vote in their caucus on Monday. The wild card, of course, in all of this is 3 independent MPs in the lower house who've given their support to Julia Gillard's minority government. Whether they'll continue to support the Labour Party if Kevin Rudd takes over or abandon ship, throwing their support behind the opposition Conservatives and bringing down the entire government, remains to be seen.